Hello everyone, welcome to yet another session of the daily news analysis by SRIRAM'S IAS, where we take up the important articles from the Hindu newspaper and break them down for our understanding from the examination point of view. So let's start today's discussion by taking up the important articles from the newspaper which appear on our screens. Let's take up the first article for the day. The first article which appears in the newspaper reads, Delhi's PM 2.5 levels worst in the world. Now this is not a new news to us where the pollution levels of Delhi are being talked about, but this is a fresh data that is coming with respect to the PM 2.5 levels for Delhi's pollution. So in this context, we'll analyze what this new study says and we'll know few important pointers about the various pollutants that exist and cause the menace of air pollution in various parts of India. So this topic becomes important for us from the point of view of GS3, where we have environment, and particularly important from the prelims examination. So what does this report say? So this is a report known as Air Quality and Health in Cities, released by US-based Health Effect Institute, which analyzed pollution and global health effects for more than 7,000 cities around the world, focusing on two major pollutants that were fine particulate matter, what we call PM 2.5, and nitrogen oxide. So these are the two most harmful pollutants that exist, and this study analyzed the presence of these two pollutants and then ranked major cities on the basis of these pollutants. And it is via this report which has found out that it has placed that cities like Delhi and Kolkata are on top of this index which analyzes the PM 2.5. So Delhi and Kolkata were ranked first and second in the list of top 10 most polluted cities in the world, where 2.5 levels were compared with Delhi and Kolkata, reporting an average annual exposure of 110 microgram per meter cube. So which means that at a given area in Delhi that is of meter cube, so at a cubic meter region, Delhi has around 110 micrograms of PM 2.5 or particulate matter of 2.5 size, and Kolkata has 84 micrograms per cubic meter respectively. That is for Delhi and Kolkata. So what exactly is PM 2.5? So the PM 2.5, or what we call particulate matter 2.5, is nothing but these are small pollutants, and 2.5 refers to their size, where they are fine particles refers to tiny particles or droplets in the air that are 2.5 microns or less in width. So those fine particles which are either of 2.5 micron size or less than that are clubbed into one particular class of pollutants known as PM 2.5 or particulate matter 2.5, and this is a big cause of worry that in the whole world the extent of PM 2.5 is most in the cities of Delhi and Kolkata in the whole world. So this is the extent of pollution that exists in the major cities of India, which this report has highlighted. Now from the examination point of view, what becomes important for us is the PM 2.5, what it is and where it is present and how does it affect the environment and the human health. So once understanding what is PM 2.5, let's understand where does particulate matter 2.5 come from. So whenever we talk about fine particles of pollution released in the atmosphere, there can be two sources. One are the outdoor sources and one is the indoor sources. Outdoor sources contains all those pollution sources. So outside, fine particles primarily come from car, truck, bus and off-road vehicles, and then construction equipment, snowmobile, locomotive, which is the train, exhausts, other operations that involve the burning of fuels such as wood, heating oil, coal or natural sources such as forest and grass fires. So whenever burning of these fuels or natural substances or man-made substances take place, the gases or the fine particles which are released make up the PM 2.5. So fine particles also form from the reaction of gases or droplets in the atmosphere from sources such as power plants. So even power plants which are releasing their waste effluents in the form of gases through the chimneys that we see also release the pollutants called as PM 2.5. And how is it released from indoor sources? So tobacco smoke, cooking, that is frying, sauteing, broiling, burning candles or oil lamps and operating fireplaces, and fuel burning space heaters, that is kerosene heaters, all of these also become the sources for releasing of PM 2.5 in the atmosphere. And what of the effect of PM 2.5 in the atmosphere? So when we can logically analyze when these fine particles of pollution will be released in the atmosphere, what it will do is that it will create serious harm for the human health and especially the respiratory systems. When the human lungs get, we can say that they get sort of accumulated with these PM 2.5 particles, what causes is severe respiratory problems, and that is what has been seen in the since last few years, where the lifespan of the residents of such cities is going down because of the increase in respiratory problems, asthma problems and such as things like that. So this is the effect of PM 2.5. So apart from the PM 2.5, this report also analyzes the levels of nitrogen oxide, and what it sees is that the Delhi and Kolkata and other cities of India are showing high levels of PM 2.5, but what they are not showing a good level on is the level of nitrogen dioxide. So no Indian cities appeared in the list of top 10 or even top 20 polluted cities when NO2 or what we call nitrogen dioxide levels were compared. So this list saw Shanghai at the top with an annual average exposure of 41 micrograms per cubic meter, and average nitrogen dioxide levels for Delhi, Kolkata and Mumbai according to the report ranged from 20 to 30 microgram per meter cube. So what is visible through this? That the Indian cities are showing more PM 2.5 levels, and the other cities of the world, the western cities or the developed cities, are showing more of the nitrogen dioxide pollution. So why this discrepancy? So let's first understand what do we mean by nitrogen dioxide pollution, and how is the nitrogen dioxide pollution occurring, and where is nitrogen dioxide released from. So about nitrogen dioxide, this belongs to one of the highly reactive gases known as oxides of nitrogen or nitrogen oxides. So we denote nitrogen oxides via NOx, and NO2 is the nitrogen dioxide. Other nitrogen oxides include nitrous acid and nitric acid. So how is it formed? The NO2 is formed when fossil fuels like coal, oil, gas and diesel are burned at high temperatures. So this is also nitrogen dioxide is also released via burning of the fuels, but this is burning at high temperatures, and it is also formed during the burning of wood and natural gas. Generally, the nitrogen dioxide is released from burning when the fuel is burnt completely, and PM 2.5 is released when the fuel or the substances are burnt rather less completely or not in a complete manner. This is, according to the experts, the reason that in India, since the adoption of cleaner fuels or cleaner engine technologies are yet to be adopted fully, the extent of PM 2.5 release is more than the nitrogen dioxide. Does that mean that the nitrogen dioxide release is not happening in India? No. Even nitrogen dioxide is releasing, but less in the number as compared to other cities of the western cities or the modern cities of other countries. So talking about now what effects does nitrogen dioxide creates. So similar to PM 2.5, even nitrogen dioxide has serious health implications, where breathing air with a high concentration of nitrogen dioxide can irritate airways in the human respiratory system and such exposures can aggravate respiratory diseases, particularly asthma. So both of them have similar implications on health, and NO2 along with other NOx reacts with other chemicals in the air to form both particulate matter and ozone. So nitrogen dioxide has a similar impact with respect to PM 2.5, but the difference between them is that nitrogen dioxide also results into reacting and formation of ozone in the atmosphere, which is again very harmful to human health, and both of these are also harmful to respiratory system. So these are the effects of both gases of pollution that are there in the major cities right now, and the report that says that Delhi and Kolkata stand at the top of release of particulate matter 2.5 into the atmosphere. So with this, let's move on to our next article for the day. The next article which appears in the newspaper reads, "What is causing Arctic warming?" Now, why is this article appearing is because, let's look at the context. On August 11, Finnish Meteorological Institute researchers, Finnish is from Finland, published this study in the Communications, Earth and Environment journal, concluding that Arctic is heating 4 times faster than the rest of the planet. So this is what the Finland study has found, that the Arctic region, which we have the northern pole region, is heating 4 times faster than the rest of the planet, and the warming is more concentrated in the Eurasian part of the Arctic, where the Barents Sea north of Russia and Norway is warming at an alarming rate, 7 times faster than the global average. Which area is this? This is what we can see in the figure, where this is the North Pole region, and the area above Russia, the Laptev Sea and the Barents Sea region, is seeing more increased amount of heating. So this is the context which we are coming to know, that the Arctic region is heating on an average 4 times faster than the rest of the planet. So what is this phenomenon happening? Why is this happening? What are the implications for this to the other parts of the planet, especially India? We'll try to analyze all of these things. So when we talk about Arctic region heating faster than the other regions of the planet, that is known as Arctic amplification, which means that the heating of the Arctic region is amplified. So what is Arctic amplification? As we know that global warming is occurring wherein, due to anthropogenic or man-made causes, burning of fossil fuels and releasing of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and other gases, methane, this is resulting into increasing the temperatures of the planet, which is known as global warming. Now this global warming is heating the planet, and this heating of the planet is, while the changes are witnessed across the planet, any change in the surface air temperature and the net radiation balance tend to produce larger changes at the north and southern poles. So these warming changes result into more impact on the north and south pole. Why does this happen? Because the snow-clad regions are there, which is wherein if the snow melts, the phenomenon which used to go in the snow regions, where we know something known as albedo. What is albedo? Albedo is the reflection capacity of the substance or any region. So since the north and south poles are filled with ice, they are ice filled regions, that is why they reflect more sunlight, and that is why their albedo is said to be very high. But if the global warming is occurring and the ice is melting, the albedo capacity of these pole regions go very low. They are able to reflect less and less amount of sunlight. So what this results into is their increasing rate of heating. That is what is known as Arctic amplification, or since the polar regions face more impact of the global warming, this is known as Arctic implication. So this phenomenon is known as first polar amplification, and these changes are more pronounced at the northern latitudes and are known as Arctic amplification. So this is the phenomenon that is happening, wherein the planet is warming, but faster rate of warming is seen in the Arctic region. So now, if the Arctic is warming faster than the world, what consequences does it have? So the consequences are that the warming of the Arctic Ocean and seas in the region has what will warming result into? As I said right now, the ice shelves which are present in the Arctic region, due to the increased warming, these ice shelves and ice sheets are deteriorating from the glaciers and melting and dissolving in the sea. What this will do is, it will raise the level of the sea, so it will impact the sea level rise. So sea level rise is happening. So the consequences are the acidification of water is happening, changes in the salinity levels of the seas is also happening, and are impacting the biodiversity, including the marine species and dependent species. The warming is also increased in the incidence of rainfall, which is affecting the availability and accessibility of lichens to reindeer. So what we need to see is that this warming and dissolving of the ice into the sea, raising the level of the seas, is not just situated to that particular region, but the impact of Arctic warming is seen to the other parts of the planet as well, and it is impacting the amount of rainfall received to the other parts. We'll come to see how the Indian monsoon, or how much rainfall India will receive, is impacted by Arctic's warming. We'll try to look at that. But the Arctic amplification is causing widespread starvation and death among the Arctic fauna, and the permafrost in the Arctic is thawing, which means that it is dissolving, it is melting, and in turn releasing carbon and methane, which are among the major greenhouse gases and responsible for global warming. So as we can see, this is a cyclical process happening, where global warming is also the reason for Arctic melting, and Arctic melting is also resulting into release of carbon dioxide and methane, which are greenhouse gases, further increasing the global warming. So this is a cyclical effect which we can see. Now coming to impact on India. First, we can wonder as to how the heating in the Arctic region cause any impact to India, but such is the way the planet's geography is shaped, that all the changes with respect to the planet are interlinked to one another, and that is why the intense heating of the Arctic also has an impact on India. How? So scientists have pondered over the impact of changing Arctic which can have on the monsoons in the subcontinent. So the link between the two is growing in importance due to the extreme weather events that the country faces, right? We are facing this in India right now, where there are prolonged monsoon seasons, the drought seasons are also happening, and the heavy reliance on rainfall for water and food security. So a study titled "A Possible Relation Between Arctic Sea Ice and Late Season Indian Summer Monsoon Rainfall Extremes," published in 2021 by a group of Indian and Norwegian scientists, found out that the reduced sea ice in the Barents-Kara Sea region, which is the Arctic region, can lead to extreme rainfall events in the latter half of the monsoons, that is in the September and October region. So what does this mean? That in the Arctic region, the intense heating of the Arctic is resulting into more amount of rainfall in the Indian subcontinent region, especially in the later monsoon seasons of September and October. These changes in the atmospheric circulation due to diminishing sea ice combined with the warm temperatures in the Arabian Sea contribute to the enhanced moisture and drive extreme rainfall events. So this is the reason why extreme rainfall is supposed to be encountered due to the extreme rate of heating of the Arctic ice. And according to the World Meteorological Organization's report, that is the state of global climate in 2021, sea level along the Indian coast is rising faster than the global average rate. And one of the primary reasons for this rise is the melting of the sea ice in the polar regions, especially the Arctic. So the Arctic amplification, as we can see, has impact not just situated to the Arctic regions, but has wider implications towards the whole planet, and that is why this phenomenon becomes of quite importance for us from the examination point of view. So this was the discussion. I hope the concept of Arctic amplification, that is intense heating of the Arctic as compared to other parts of the planet, is clear. So with this, let's move on to our next article. The next article which appears in the newspaper reads Data Opportunity at the G20. Now why is this article featured? Because as we know, G20 is an international grouping of the 20 influential countries or economies of the world, and India is going to assume the presidency of G20 in the coming month of December. So the article presents the issue of data security and data localization that India can take as an agenda and become the leader in terms of data governance and percolate the agenda at the forum of G20. So on this context, the article is written. Now, what is happening is that, as we know, with the increased deglobalization efforts, what do you mean by deglobalization efforts? After the events of pandemic, Russia-Ukraine war, the efforts of globalization or the countries coming together to govern on various issues has taken a backward trend. And more countries are going self-reliant or not relying on other countries. This is known as deglobalization. So in this era of deglobalization, the data which did not know boundaries, for example, a company such as Facebook is situated in USA and collects the data of Indians from India and other citizens' data from other countries. So data travels from one country to another. So therefore, deglobalization efforts have put a negative impact on data governance, wherein if earlier countries were interested in governing on data collectively, they are now not keen on doing so, and they are more focused on dealing with data in their own land. So what is happening? More and more countries are regulating data, such as in the US, it recently issued an executive order on promoting competition in the American economy that pushed for the use of antitrust policy. Antitrust policy means competition policy which says that no one company should be able to gain monopoly in the market to meet the challenges posed by the rise of dominant platforms and surveillance. Similarly, in the Europe, they have introduced a levy of digital rules that place individual users at the center stage and enhance their data security. Through the proposed Data Act, the EU hopes to become an unparalleled data power by creating a single data market, setting robust standards and deploying the EU's collective data for their own use. So this is what is happening, where more and more countries are tightening their regulations over data and focusing on keeping the data in their own countries, which is known as data localization. So how can G20 and India's presidency in the G20 play a role in data governance? First of all, as we said, these are 20 most influential economies that come together at the G20 level. So converging positions are there on data governance, where there is already seemingly converging positions on data governance amongst the major G7 power. So since most countries want to make a healthy legislation on it, this forum can be a big platform to do so. Then legitimacy of G20. Given G20 legitimacy on economic issues and having the top economies makes it an appropriate forum to discuss data. Then non-binding rules. Whatever agreements that are formulated at G20 level, they do not create binding rules but serve as a platform to catalyze and inject new thinking around critical current issues. So this can be a favorable ground where binding rules are not happening, but healthy discussions are happening on the data governance issues. And what is India going to do over here? India already, as we know, domestically has tried to take a lot of steps on data governance, wherein governance on non-personal data, personal data. Since 2017, India has attempted to incubate governance of non-personal data, personal data, e-commerce regulation and artificial intelligence with a preference to harness India's data for India's development. This is what we call data localization, wherein the data that is collected from India should have a repository. The data should be stored in India itself, and these policies include the recently withdrawn Personal Data Protection Bill. So even though the withdrawal of the Personal Data Protection Bill signals a step back in this data governance network, but this calls for recalling of the improved version of this Personal Data Protection Bill. So what can India do to leverage this situation? First is that it should make a robust system for data collection and sharing. So at the G20, Indian government should present a holistic agenda that embeds data collection and sharing within a broader framework that prioritizes digital security, innovation and citizen rights. So in this aspect only the RBI data localization directive has been in place for 4 years of now, which says that basically these are the rules formulated by RBI which enumerate rules for data storage and how the data would be stored and how a significant chunk of the data or which is the crucial data would be stored in India itself. Then the concept of data localization. So India's digital economy stewardship must transcend data localization by highlighting best practices on data protection, competition law, data stewardship and responsible artificial intelligence both in India and other G20 countries. And the last is of the redrafting of the data protection bill, which we just now mentioned, that even though the bill has been withdrawn, but a new improved version of the bill should be in place so that a robust system for dealing with the data in the country is there in place. So this is what India needs to do at the domestic level as well as the international level, where it assumes the leadership position in the G20 and it can head the governance issues related to the data localization and data security at the world level. So this was a discussion with respect to today's important articles. We stop here and we'll meet again tomorrow with the important articles from tomorrow's newspaper. Thank you.